another video. In today's video, it's all about the process of building a bubble hash machine, okay? So the concept behind this is I harvest the cannabis. Now, last year or every year, you prune it, or you harvest it, you prune a little bit, you hang it, you dry it, you harvest it some more, you dry it some more, you cure it, right? And then you press it into rosin. Okay, there's a lot of steps there. Check this out. So with this machine, what the process will be is I'll harvest it, do a little bit of trimming, just sticks and giant leaves, that's it. Take that, freeze it. Take it out of the freezer once it's frozen, like a couple days. No drying, no curing, no waiting, nothing. It's frozen, it's ready to go in this machine that I'm gonna build right now. That I don't think anybody builds these machines. I see people build parts, custom parts that you can order and stuff like that, but actually building like a machine that's just all ready to go, that doesn't exist. So, check this out. All right, here's the cart I chose to build it on because, you know, everything needs wheels. All right, start to get a picture of what this does here. So, the cart is on the bottom. This is like up above this on the cart. Put the goods in there. That plumbing gets redone with some different plumbing. And it goes into there. There's these special bags in there. Now, all this has to stay really cold, and you have to use super purified water because whatever's in your water is going to end up in your stuff. So, this is an entire water purification system that goes on the cart as well, okay? Now, these are ice cube makers because this entire process is done frozen. So basically you make up a bunch of ice cubes, put the ice cubes in there, get that thing all cold. And now what I'm doing to really make this thing, you know, the next level is I'm going to insulate this, okay? So now at the bottom of this, there's going to be a hole that leads to this. And what this is a food safe pump. So this will be up off the cart a bit, and underneath will be the pump. So then the pump will take the water from here and then pick it back up and then dump it back into the top of that thing that will be right about here, okay? Now, plumbing that all with insulated stuff, so the pump will be insulated underneath the bucket will be insulated, the lines that go between will be insulated, and I kind of like this being clear, but I might insulate that as well, because if you keep it, you got to keep everything cold, and keeping everything cold and being able to recycle the water, it just makes this whole system pretty easy to set up and use. It just plug in the hose, plug in plug, and boom, get everything cold and you're ready to go. Here's a little food safe or food grade pump. All right, so this water system is pretty sweet. Going through it right off the bat, looking through the directions, and just right away I'm like, I need to add something. I need to order something else. I need to order this optional alkaline filter kit because my water is definitely got excessive amounts of alkaline in it. And this is why I started this project months before I needed this thing, because this part of it has to be done and completed, and making ice. This is where I get the water for the ice. So this all has to be put together and done, and then make the ice and get that all done before the end of the season. So lucky I started now. This is a very nice system here though. It's from Taiwan. It's very upgradable, and actually send you extra filters. That's like 2 sets of filters. So I don't know how much the extra filters are, but I mean, it's an entire, that's all plumbing. And if you've watched this channel, you'll know I think I have one plumbing thing when I started the sewage treatment plant, but that's on hold. So that's the only plumbing I've done. And I never even checked to make sure my plumbing was even any good. So, but this is like the most basic plumbing, I think. I mean, there's some good directions in here. I should be just fine. The water purifier is packed up and going back because I should have got the model that has the alkaline filter on there. So this is why I get stuff going early, because when you got a deadline, mistakes happen. So now what's going on here, the first modification is you can't have this hose. This little bendy hose with these little riblets in there, because that's where everything will be. All your good stuff will be right there in those riblets. Not ideal. So we have to do some open heart surgery here and get that hose swapped out. It's apart. The wiring is what's holding it all together right now, and I definitely don't want to have to unwire it because I got access. This is actually glued on, so this is going to be fun. So this is not ideal. You can see right here, there is actually some reason that's got a lip. So I have to cut this lip out because this is definitely, potentially, clog issues could happen right there. Don't want that. So I'm gonna fix that. I just happen to have this pipe laying around, and I think if I hit that with the hot air gun and then put it on there, I think it's gonna work. I don't think I'm gonna have to buy a hose. I think I got it. Except for right here. I love it when a plan comes together. Woo! heat gun, little blast blast. The thing went right on there. Oh, it's gonna be such a nice seal. This may very well be one of the hardest parts of this entire build, getting that belt back on with my big old hands. Nowhere near as hard as I made it out to be, although something just doesn't look right. I don't know what. Looks like, no, let me get it all the way together before I cast judgment. So here's the return, and this hose fits perfectly in there. So now what I need to pick up is I need a valve right about here so I can stop this from draining. This stops itself from draining by just hooking the hose up there. So the hose would just be up here so it couldn't drain. So then you put it down when you wanted it to drain, right? So with it just hanging straight down into the bucket, it would just constantly drain. Thus, a valve is needed. This is just bent like crazy. You see it right there. It's definitely not straight. So, the bucket needs to be elevated to put the pump underneath it. So, I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of utilize what's going on here already and just build up with the with those sides. Use those, span them with some material, and yeah, I think that's gonna work. All right, big material haul. Insulation, plywood. Got 4 of those boards and 2 of these corner pieces. So, okay, and then that's an extension cord I had that I'm going to use. Some hose I got, more hose, just to make one little connection. This is to get connected to a hose to be able to fill this thing up. Lots of spray foam. Lath screws for how I'm going to assemble most of it. Some very heavy duty valves that connect to something, so you can just flip them on and off. Fittings, more lath screws. Plumbing parts that are going to work for things they're not intended for, because they don't make little tiny drains, and just parts and pipe, what the heck are these things called? Pipe clamps, duh. Pipe clamps, multiple sizes of pipe clamps. The only thing I'm missing now is the correct water filtration system, which will be here on Thursday. It's like Tuesday. But I have a lot of building before I'm there, so, but it's nice to have all the parts so you can make sure that everything has a place, but I know where it's going and with the size of it, so I'll be all right. That snapped in perfectly. It is like, it's in there, and it made all this stuff tighten up as well. I need to put the insulation on the inside. I'm going to have to get more plywood. That's just, it is what it is. I used over a sheet of plywood. I got my bubble bags. These are the new ones that have the mesh going all the way up the side. So you don't have to worry about trying to get stuff to go down the bottom. And I upgraded something I wasn't planning on. Get this gizmo here, which is a breaker. So I figure, you know, I'm plumbing, water, cart, you know, just have the breaker here instead of sending any fault all the way to the breaker panel. I couldn't find a proper switch that was in line with plugs, so I just got this remote, which will actually be kind of cooler. I'll just have to do less running of wires. I've got my other plywood out there. So what I'm working on now is getting, this is my solution for a drain in the bottom of a garbage pail. This is a food grade garbage pail. So hence its whiteness. So now I've got these. Now I have a little problem with this. It has the same lip like the washing machine did that I cut out, but this has filter bags over it. So everything hitting this should be nothing. This should just be water and terpenes. And terpenes aren't gonna gather like plant material would. So I'm not going to worry about that little lip that's in there. But now, what I do have to worry about is the bottom of this definitely was not built for putting drains into, because it has all kinds of things that I need to cut out of the way to get down to be, so where that's going to sit in there. Actually, it'll be, this part will sit in there, this part will be here, that part will be inside. My biggest drill bit wouldn't do the job, but I didn't want to use a hole saw that was too big. So now I got to fix the hole a little bit with my, this is where the heck this thing's called. What are these things called? Dremel copy tools. All right, now I'm kind of bumming that I didn't get like a little mini tube of silicone, because the only tubes I have are full-size tubes. And this much silicone to open a full-size tube is depressing. Here we go, plumbing. So that's my drain spout that comes out of the bottom of the bucket. And then it goes through a hole into this compartment. And then this and this get hosed. And as you can see, they're not quite the same size. Lovely. All right, a shout out to Serpa Design for giving me the courage to make anything waterproof with copious amounts of silicone. This is the silicone that you don't have to worry about. After it's cured and rinsed, it doesn't do anything to anything. All right, 24 hours this thing has now. Oh yeah, it has a drain. It's all put in, but it's gonna take 24 hours for it to dry. Now I need to find someplace to put it where I'm not gonna bump it. So instead of wasting the majority of a tube of caulking, I just went ahead and caulked this stuff, because why not? All right, so this needs to come down a little bit just so it isn't kinked up on there. As much as I don't want to cut and plumb and do a bunch of stuff, having one line would be so nice. I'm just not sure that this is gonna be okay, because it just might be crimping it, kinking it, you know, a little bit too much. So looks like I'm gonna need to get an elbow. So I'm gonna have to get some elbows. Okay, getting the access panel door on. Got the foam back right now. I just need to glue these together. I just did all that without putting the top on because I needed so little. I didn't want to destroy the top, and actually it worked really good. Had amazing control. Perfect. That's drying. And I'm gonna have to cut a part out to get the hoses and the cords out, but that's once that's all one piece. All right, it's coming together, leaps and bounds. We got all the pieces cut here that are this, and what is that? That is the insulation holder that goes here. And boy, I could have cut that a little bit higher, but I just noticed that. I cut it for that side. I cut it for that side over there, the handle side. I did not cut it for this here, but it's not going to be a problem. There's not as much room over here as I was thinking I had, so I'm going to have to, I got one valve that goes there. Where's the valve? Here's the valve. And one valve that goes there, and that goes in there. Then you got a pipe that comes up here, and it has a T where you can directly flow from this bucket back into this bucket with a hose. So you can rinse down everything with the hose. It's just recycling the water. A lot of people use like a little spray thing, a whole other thing full of water, and compress it, pump it, spray it. Yeah, not gonna do that. I have a pump, why would I do that? But where all those, because that's 2 more of these. So 2 more of these to make the water go everywhere I want the water to go. And there's really not a lot of room right here, maybe over here. But the intake for this is over here. So right here. So I'm maybe gonna put something here, not quite sure. But this is bim bam boom. I did screw this to here. I'm gonna have to cut my door way down because my door didn't take into account this board or this board. So no big deal. As soon as it's dry, I'll just whack it down on the table saw. Next thing I gotta do is cut those handles off. Okay, have the correct alkaline water purification RO system now. And I was watching the installation video for this, and it has a connection to a drain. And I'm like, oh, a drain. Like, how do I get all the water out of there when I'm done? That's something I had not calculated, put it in my plans. So now I need to put a drain with some sort of receptacle that, so I'm running into something. I was kind of thinking about maybe, I don't know how much room is when the thing turns I have underneath there, but I'm gonna have to put something running out the bottom. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do it or where I'm gonna do it, but I can guarantee it is going to be another one of these $17 valves, because it has to be. Apple bug. Dude, we got biting flies out here that bite. No bueno. So I cut the handles off this and didn't film it because it was a messy freaking Dremel style cut. Finished it up after I cut it with this wheel. I finished it with that grinder to just make sure everything's nice and polished out. I did, it just doesn't need handles, and the bags fold over the edge, so it just makes it so much easier to fold them over the edge, right? So got the valve here, figuring out right now I'm trying to figure out all my lines that come off the pump. Because if we come off the pump, out of the bottom of the bucket, now we have to come off the bottom of the pump. We need to go to a drain. And then we need to come up here, avoiding the freaking this thing that's going to be in there somehow, which I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put another board in here. Just one, it just goes from like right here to here, something just across, just big enough to hold the thing. And that will give me clearance at the back, right? So now I come up to here, and I got to come out here someplace, and I got that right there. But then I got to come into here, but I have to also go to here, but then I also have to come back into there with the hose that I can rinse down the edges. That's the whole concept, right? So you have it, it's all slopped up everywhere. So, and then there's this whole other like dynamic that's just kind of specific to me. This doesn't have anything to do with the build, because most people just have water pressure. So they'll just be able to, you know, plug it in and no problem. But I use a pump, and it turned on the pump and it sprays, and I spray. I don't have like regular pressurized running water. That's down the road. So I actually have to buy a pressure tank setup just to be able to run this. Has to be run for 8 hours to clean everything out and to get everything filtered. Filtering the filters takes like 8 hours, and like tank after tank after tank. Well, I turned my little thing on, and it's on for, you know, a minute, 2 minutes at most, maybe like 3 minutes. So in a day, maybe I use it 15 minutes. So, and it takes, to fill this, I think just to actually get the water to go all the way through initially is like 2 to 3 hours, depending on your water pressure. So if I had that going 15 minutes a day, it would take literally forever for just to filter out the filters. So I've got to set up a whole system that runs basically like a normal system. They have them, they're a pressure tank and a pump. And I got to put that into my system and pretty much plug this in to be able to actually filter it and then use it. Trying to figure out how all this plumbing works together. I'm going to have to shorten this here. So this handle, this will be stuck to here someplace. But this comes and is like right about here. So I got to shorten this to get this over. I had to move this over so I could put this here. I just had an idea. So this was going to have 3 sides, and this all gets filled in with foam, right? And this was going to be the back. But if I just put another piece of plywood right here, connecting this plywood and one on the other side, and so the spray foam does not hit that board, then this entire section could just come out. Like maybe I would put like some screws like down like I did over here. I got a little screw that goes into there, works great, right? But I might screw down into this, maybe. But I'm thinking about doing that because in the event of some like really bad leaks or the pump dies, like there's this door right there, but it would be easier to get at everything. And all I need to do is just add one more piece of plywood to keep the spray foam from sticking to this. And then this would be like its own thing in theory. All right, I'm on the jazz. Leave a comment down below if you recognize that reference. Sorry about the air conditioner noise, but it was 95 yesterday. I don't think it's going to be that hot today. So yesterday, it was too hot to even film. I didn't even bother. I just sat in that little chair right there and kind of worked away on things. Did a lot of plumbing. Got the box put together. This is all groovy. This is the world's smallest countertop. And, oh, my door. My door's all, well, it still needs hardware, but there's the door. I can bring that in now. And I basically got my plumbing to here, and this is where I didn't have all the parts that I needed, of course. So I thought I needed one T, but that was before I realized I needed a drain. So that's my drain. That's my parts that were supposed to be up here. So now I need another hardware store trip to get another T and another valve, unfortunately. So I broke a damn drill. I broke one of these drill bits. That is so lame. But I'm only gonna have out of all this stuff like a couple extra of these, so I didn't do that bad. And I might not actually even have extra because I just realized something I should be doing here. I should be putting a T in here, like right in the middle there. That'd make it easier to be here instead of bending it around that. It just T's around this. So I'm gonna have exactly all the T's I need. And that's where the water filtration system hangs. So today, this is what I've been frickin' trying to figure out, is how to get that circle out of that. And it's like a lot of people would just put a box on the top and then cut the circle out, right? Well, it's a plumbing thing, so it's got a variable where it needs to go and how exactly to transfer all this perfectly. So what I came up with was actually just leaving it bigger all the way around. Get the hole in there, get this in there, get everything in there, and then trace out the outside where it's supposed to be. Maybe. I don't know. It's just, there's so many little, like, the handle was here, and now there's just all these little bumpy parts, so there's going to be gaps. It's not going to matter, but it does need a little bit of something there just to, you know, clean it up. I mean, it just had spray foam poking out there. Mounting this to this, these protrusions are unnecessary and potentially in the way. Ooh, so smooth now. Nothing in the way. Working on wiring. Got my breaker here. Some two-sided tape. It's about ready to go up and get mounted up here. The switch to be able to turn the pump on and off, which works like this. I tried to find a regular switch, but this was just so much easier. This thing is mounted by screws that just go up into the feet. It actually looked like they were made to be able to do that. So I got all the wiring taken care of. We have a faucet on the world's tiniest countertop. Some of you might be looking at that going, man, that looks pretty weak or wonky, and yeah, it's not. This is literally freaking, I probably could pick the entire freaking thing up by that. And it's kind of made, you know, if it does get slammed into, it's not a big deal. you know, that's kind of the theory behind how I mounted that. I got this plumbing adjusted and mounted. So now this is whoop into there. And of course I'm still needing to cut the circle, and that's the hard part. Got some insulation going on, or outsulation technically. Got a little window so you can see what's going on at all times, and that's an important viewpoint there. So I have one more plug that I have, and I might just put a light up here that just beams right here to make sure I can really see everything good. Maybe. It's kind of overkill, but I had it and it works really good on this pink foam. Insulate, outsulation, all done. Not a lot of room in here. Got a little window I can see this. Got a little window I can see that. Ready to go. Starting to take shape. Still friggin' need to cut the circle out for this. Ugh, so much work happening. The nemesis on this build is these little things right here. Hose clamps. I literally just keep not buying enough. So this whole section here is on hold for hose clamps. This is what's going on right now. Oh, I got these here. I need to do some sanding, but I'm mocking up here first. And you're like, why did you cut those? I cut them because this whole thing gets filled with spray foam. So if I put this in, how do I get the spray foam in? There's nowhere to get the spray foam in. I guess I could drill holes, but cut this in half, put it all together, got the little thing down there, put the bucket in there, start spray foaming. I think I am ready for foam. I had to come at this a few times to get it in there. Had to carve a little more off the handle section of the bucket, but it's in there. Little tension fit, holds everything nice and tight. So it's about time to do some spray foaming. This is how I'm gonna get that foam to go where I want it to go. And getting this all balanced like that, believe it or not, was not easy. I did not buy anywhere near enough spray foam. Nowhere near enough. That's all the spray foam I bought. So I think I need about 12 more cans. That was 3 cans did that. 2 big gaps and a normal one. Not quite ready to have all that in there yet because I need to plumb the bucket into the pump. This would be the one mistake I've made. I should have filled this with the pink foam. I have a bunch of extra pink foam. I could have put some down all the sides here and saved myself a ton of this spray foam. I'm going to forever regret that as I'm trying to recycle 15 of these cans. Unfortunately, it moved. During the curing process, it moved. This is probably like 1/4 of an inch. It needs to come off there. So I was kind of surprised because there's that. So I don't know. I'm not sure how it moved. It looks okay. I think like four cans of spray foam in there so far. I think why the foam didn't, why I thought I needed so much was because I put like 3 cans in there all at once. And I think it probably kind of smushed itself. So now I do 1 can and let it cure, and go do another can and let it cure. And I swear it moved overnight, but I don't know how that's possible because there was foam all the way around it. But whatever, it's no big deal. So this mess is kind of epic because I had 2 trash bags loaded with trash and a tornado hit. And it just knocked them both. They were up here and they fell like that and went poof all over the place. That's an epic mess. That's like everything almost, I think, piled up. If there is no dust in a dust devil, what's it called then? Just a devil? Now I need my scissors, but I've been cutting massive amounts of 2-sided tape and they're so gunked up they really don't work. So now I'm sitting here cleaning scissors. I bought 12, 7 left. Still got a big bunch in that can and I'm almost full. Boy, did I misjudge that. This is like my biggest failure on this whole thing. So number 1, I didn't put the pink foam in there to take up most of the room. Number 2, it moved. Now my thing is not as perfect as it was. Oh, that's the wrong one for wrong size. That's really imperfect there, but you know, it's got this little gap and I am absolutely not going to worry about it. I am going to trim this though. A little trim on this. It's kind of necessary because there's a lip right here and I don't really want a lip. So this is as full as it is from the last can and I'm half tempted to just leave it because it's almost full here. It's a little not full right there. A little teeny right there. It would most definitely be not a whole can. And most of it's down in here. So like this little tiny bit isn't really gonna make that big a difference to where I should waste another freaking and make even more of this kind of trash, which like breaks my soul every time I look at that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that's as full as I'm gonna get it. Okay, here's a little drain system that I actually added after I started putting it together. I'm like, well, how am I gonna get all the water out of there, right? It's like, okay, yeah, I should have a drain system. And then I also learned that this has a drain, right? So what I don't want is what drains from that to backwash into the system any kind of way, right? So this is positioned lower than this. So this just always drips. There is no valve to stop this from dripping because it needs to drip because it's doing its thing, right? So this at least has to have a bucket sitting under it, but also could be put to a hose and ran to wherever, right? But the main point here is how this is all below here. So this isn't going to go up here. All this drain water is just going to go away. So I like to show the mistakes because that way maybe if somebody's copying this, they go, oh yeah, so how to not do this when you get your thing all cut out and you're doing your foam, leave this, put it in, put it back, and probably even just the whole thing, and just keep them in there while the foam's drying for the first few layers. I thought I was good. But obviously I wasn't. I mean, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It just has these gaps. And, oh, yeah, sure, I could go back and cut all new, but hell no. This is literally the entire reason why there's a door. I would say this is probably the hardest plumbing connection I have to make because I have to gap all that, get in there, and put that in there. All right, so this thing is held in place this way by these. Obviously it can't go that way, but this way. It doesn't have anything holding it from going this way, except for the plumbing. Not a good idea. All right, this is the second to the last major project on this project, and then there's probably little projects, a little touch up here and there, but we're getting close. I'm gonna wire this. Wire. It's kind of like wiring, really. Look at these things. Look like, you know, color-coded wires, but no, these are pipes. So I'm going to plumb this out here because the little hoses just stick out everywhere, right? And then I'm going to put it in there, and then I can do all the fancy stuff. Fancy stuff being these gizmos. Because, you know, nothing says fancy like cable clamps. Cable clamps for plumbing. That's right. Let's go. So I had to upgrade this because this is what they sent. So it's meant to tap into a pipe, not just go to a pipe. And then it needs a valve because that's under pressure. So if you were to take the pressure off of here, then I think this would run backwards, possibly. I'm not exactly sure if there's directional checks in there somewhere, but the only pressure would be from the tank. So that's why I put the valve right there, to make sure that back pressure can't happen. So I opted to not cut any of the tubing. I just ran it all back, and then I didn't even really hardwire, because if I have some issue, which, you know, the worst issue is behind that, you know, underneath everything, but the way I did it, I can take this out, I can take this out, and I can get in there. So, and it went in pretty nice. I did have one part from the factory, this little blue clip. It was on the wrong side, and it was just flipping around right here. And I did knock this thing over, so I was freaked out that I messed it up. But I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, hey, this side here. So make sure you check your connections from the factory, because these little blue tabs is what holds everything together. That's what locks everything into place. So yeah, you gotta make sure they're in the right spot. All right, so next, then I got the hoses done. All right, so clean, picked up. Hopefully a tornado doesn't come and do its thing to that pile. I'm waiting on cleaning the floor in here until I can get this out of the way. I'm waiting to get this out of the way until I finish the ruggedizing phase. I got a lot of the tools and everything put away now, though, so it's much more manageable in here. So that's what I'm going to do now. Time to ruggedize. I had to take off a panel so I could get my drill in there to actually put that on. It is ruggedized, and you might be asking, well, why didn't you do these down here? Well, because it would have been more of a cut hazard than a benefit. And this is a pretty large piece of material there that is screwed there, has this whole other bracing back there, and then the top is like, this was really where all the strength just came in. Because once this thing is full, I think that thing holds like 11 gallons. So 11 times 8 is like, it's like 90, maybe 100 pounds or something. I mean, that's, yeah, when that's full, all that'll be 100 pounds. So that'll be 100 pounds up on this. So I feel like it's going to be just fine. And, you know, if they would have been here, that just would have been a cut hazard. So all this is super bulletproof now. I mean, it just doesn't move. And then what I did up here, bam, is I actually cut these long and then hammered them over so they would be kind of more of a, because that honestly is where most of the impacts are possibly going to come from, just moving it around, storing it, that kind of stuff. I did add screws down here just to help this potential movement this way. Got one over there. So yeah, it is officially done. Now I just need to take it out of here so I can clean the floor. Super rare. Typically, that's how much more I would need. But this was not the nemesis. This is the hose cleaner. Okay, either get great light or passable audio. So we'll go for passable audio. All right, so here's how this thing works. Take it up there, plug it in. Plug in water line to here, plug in and drain there, okay? Turn this on. Now I have a whole process of I have to drain it and filter it all. So, but if, you can just read your own directions on that process, but I'm not doing that right now. I'm not ready to do that. So you hooked it up and you have to do that hours before you want to use it, because you want to use it, you want to have that tank full so that tank can fill up this. But you're also going to have to do your ice, so you need to have all your ice ready. All right, so now all that's ready, you got ice. You take and you put probably a good layer of ice in the bottom of this. You know, those big ice cubes that I got, just probably just one layer of those across the bottom. Put the bags in there. Again, a layer of ice, and then the bag of material, and then fill it up with ice. Okay, now you go over here, you open the lid. I don't want to open the lid because I don't want stuff flying in from the wind, so we'll just pretend the lid is open. And you go over here, you turn this on. Oh wow, that's a good sign. Okay, so now this thing fills up. It's good to go. You come up here, you set your knobbies to whatever to go, right? So now this is agitating away. You agitate until you start to see something in this window, okay? At that point, you open this valve, boom, this way, boom. Now it's open. Then you come over. I haven't put this thing up yet. This is going to be over here on some double-sided tape. Right here. Then you hit your pump on. Okay, now you want to go off and on. So now the pump's running. It's dumping water up there. And what that's doing, now you got the agitation of the agitator, but you also have the flow of the water. It's constantly flowing, right? So it's working like a mechanism as well as the agitation. So then you come down, it drops into the bottom of the bucket. Boom. You're watching this little window. You're watching the little window. That little window starts to get a little green. So now it's turning a little green. What you want to do is you turn off the pump. Bloop, pump's off. And you let the rest of this drain till there's no water left in there. Then you turn this off, get your bag of material out of here, put your new bag with material in here, maybe a little more ice, then go over here. Oh shit. Drop it before I even use it. Over here, boom. Turn the pump back on. The pump's on. Now it's coming up here. Now it's filling this up. Filling up, filling up, filling up, filling up. And it all starts over again. And you can basically just run this over and over and over until, like personally, I'm going to do each different strain I have, or cultivar, each different kind of bud that I have, I'm going to do this process too. Now, to avoid having to do a lot of this final in processing, that's why I went with the 20 gallon size, is because it can just all fill up and 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 fill up. And then once you've done everything you want to do, then you go in here, you shut this valve, you turn this valve on, turn that valve off after you got everything drained out of there. And you take this and you rinse it around each bag, take out the bag. There's 8 bags, and in I think 2 to 3 bags, that's what you get. Now a lot of people, they run this, they go, oh, that's the first run, and they take this out, and they go, okay, that's the best of the best, and that's a lot of extra work. You know, I'm just doing this all to do in a press of a live resin press. So I'm just going to take out the 2 to 3 premium bags and then press it, and I'll have freaking really nice stuff for not much work. Because this is just, you crop, the day you crop, you harvest with all the stick out, as much as stick. You don't have to get crazy. You don't have to, like, you know, totally, but just, you know, all the big stick, easy stick, and the big easy leaves. That's it. You're done pruning. Goes in the freezer. Freezes in like a day. Like, so 1 day later you can start this process. It's so much less work overall and so much faster. The curing process is in the rosin in the refrigerator. So, all right. If you want to actually see it run with material, subscribe, like, thanks.
Thank you for watching my video.